who they have been really good on, other than making though I think the last time that he made an appearance was in an episode. Was actually no, it was in Avengers 2 where he briefly shows up.
Yeah, and he kind of made it seem like he wants to be hidden and not seen. So that's kind of cool to bring him back.
I agree. I definitely think that they've done specific things that I felt are really good. And to be quite honest, I think DC should have been taking notes. Again,
you and I have said this on multiple shows that if DC had built up their universe the way that Marvel did theirs leading up to Infinity Wars, things would be so much better. The only thing that I think Marvel has done wrong with Infinity Wars was scrapping the 2-part movie and instead going with one.
There's a lot of details on that. We could go off and beat a dead horse. We're not going to. Unfortunately, I do think they need to go off, and if they want to salvage, the DC universe, they're going to have to go off and go in a better creative direction.
Unfortunately, I think with Justice League, and I haven't seen it, but I literally have seen bits and pieces of it as well as all the reviews. I think the nail has officially been put in the coffin.
And that's too bad because of some of the stuff I saw in the trailers for the movie, it looked good. But I think it's once bitten, twice shy. After how poorly Batman versus Superman did, a lot of people despite the fact that Wonder Woman did great, and it is the highest grossing movie to ever feature a female superhero. It's, I think, actually the first truly successful movie feature superhero.
Well, yeah, and the biggest flaw they did was what they ignored what the success of Batman v Superman was, and there was some success in it.
There was some.
The darkness of it was definitely a very unique aspect of the movie.
It was too dark at times, and I think
they went completely the opposite with Justice League, and they went completely too light.
And I don't know. I want to save judgment until I've had the chance to go off and find a way to go off and see the movie. Who knows? Maybe I might download it or something.
I do want to say though, just kind of because I'm kind of reading some of the comments in the chat here. It wasn't Roman Reigns that played Aquaman in Justice League. Contrary to popular belief, Amy, it was actually Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa,
who was from Game of Thrones.
And who also happens to be Samoan, but that's a different story.
Yes.
And they might be distantly related because I think, all Samoans are, probably descended from the same, clan and everything.
But yeah, I just wanted to point out it wasn't Roman Reigns. They may look kind of similar.
Jason Momoa, who also was in Stargate Atlantis as well.
But best known as the Dothraki from, Game of Thrones.
He also was in. They tried to do a Hercules reboot as well with him.
Yes,
which didn't do very well. But that was nothing on him.
That was definitely a storyline aspect as opposed to.
I just don't think people were ready for Hercules again.
No one is truly ready for a proper live action Hercules.
Let's face it. There's only one person who could play Hercules. And that was the Governator.
Yes.
We're kind of going a little off topic here.
I think we'll take a quick music break, and then we will actually come back to talk a little bit more about what we think is going to happen in Infinity Wars, because definitely the best part we have is our theories.
Honestly, let's face it, because if we went off and wrote the movie, it would either be really, really good or really, really bad.
It'd be horrible.
It'd be terrible. So, guys,
we wouldn't be able to agree on a script, let alone who to be in the movie.
Okay, so we'd be back after this brief musical interlude. So don't you go anywhere.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Captain Fizz and Mask Guy show. So this is the part of the show where we're going to do our, shameless theories of the movie.
Yes, that's exactly what we're gonna do here,
So
sir.
we'll actually start with my theory, and this is a theory that I think a lot of people have actually said. I literally think they're going to surprise everybody, and they're going to announce at the end of Infinity Wars that, in fact, there is actually a second one.
Well, they've already talked about the Infinity Wars is going to be actually broken into 2 movies. And so they're literally doing Avengers 3 and Avengers 4, and they're probably going to split it up, and either they're going to do part 1 1 year, and then part 2 will come out the next year, or they'll do, a Star Wars thing and make us wait for a year between, and then tell a completely different story with someone else off to the side.
We do know they have a very long list of movies they're coming out with. Obviously, Ant-Man and the Wasp, they got Captain Marvel coming out. They've got I don't even have the list in front of me, but there's literally one every year for the next godforsaken amount of years.
So let's hear your theory. I want to hear what your theory is, because I have my own theory here.
My biggest thing is I don't think we're going to see the fight between the Justice League, or not Justice League. I don't know what to call them. All the supporting superheroes against Thanos. I don't think we're going to see it. I think what we're going to see is the build-up of this massive war to end all wars. And I'm going to spoil things because this is literally my theory. But I think what's going to actually spark the war that we're going to see in the second part is Thanos coming down for the first time and killing Captain America. And I think that is my biggest theory. And that is going to be that deciding factor where they're going to turn around and they're actually going to band together and fight. Because I don't see this ragtag of superheroes banding together very easily from the beginning, unless they have a specific reason.
I like this theory, and it kind of coincides with my own theory. I do believe that at least one major character, one of the actual Avengers, is going to die. Considering that a couple of the actors here, their contracts will be expiring after these Avengers.
I believe both
Robert Downey
Jr. as well as Chris Evans' contract will end.
It does make perfect sense if they decided to go off and kill off Captain America. And I completely support that idea. That was on mine. One theory I have is, and this goes back to some of the mythology of Thanos, I believe we are going to see Death incarnated. Lady Death will, I believe, be in here because the whole purpose, unless they're going to with a different direction in the comics, anyways, part of the reason why Thanos causes so much death and destruction is he's trying to impress the Death herself. And who, continues to go off and ignore him, and he's in love with her. Now, so I think I'd be very interested to see this. I do believe that by the time we go off and we see the end of this, there is going to be, a gradual lead up to the next really super big baddie who, I need to go back and double check to see if they have ownership, because I know that Marvel has been making relationships with different other studios, and we could see, I don't know, maybe Galactus.
And that definitely would be awesome. I think
I don't really know where you would go after Thanos.
I don't think there really is much that they can unfortunately do. I think they've kind of pushed a little too far. One of the things they've rumored at is, and they've kind of shown pictures, is Thanos' 4 disciples, so to speak. I don't know what to actually call them, but he has 4 followers that actually do his bidding for him.
And I think, and if that's the case, I do believe that it would probably be better if they go off and they bring those 4 characters in first. And then, Thanos, when they're starting to fail, Thanos, decides to drop the gauntlet, so to speak, and come down and start beating up. I do think, though, because this is the Infinity War, and that is a reference, of course, to the Infinity Gauntlet, we, of course, are going to see, I believe, in the first movie, more having to do with Thanos collecting the Infinity Stones. and
I
inserting them
definitely
into the Gauntlet.
I definitely agree. Now, my biggest thing, and I think what the movies are lacking that the comic books explain so much, is most of these superheroes knew what these stones were leading up to, and I feel like in the movies they're completely, utterly clueless on what these things
not
are.
Not necessarily. Now, the Asgardians, they are very aware of what's going on. If you watch at the end of, I believe it was Thor 2, you can see a couple of Asgardians giving the Collector an Infinity Stone, and the rationale is they already have one in Asgard, and they do not want to have two in the same place, because they want to try to keep them separated, because they're very aware of Thanos to some degree or another, and do not want to be in a position where they make it easier for any one person to go up and to collect all the stones.
Completely agree. But they got to find a way to tie this in perfectly, having Thanos, because you really don't see or hear too much reference to Thanos leading up to all this. They seem to know of some being of some sort.
Okay, people on Earth have no idea who Thanos is. They might have, Captain America might be, not Captain America, Iron Man might have been the person who came the closest to actually go off and to see him. He obviously didn't. But, no one on Earth knows who he is. The Guardians know who he is because, Gamora is, his adopted daughter.
But that's as far as they seem to know of him. They don't really know anything else other than his,
I do suspect because, and Doctor Strange, they're very aware that they have the Time Stone, so they know they have an Infinity Stone. And considering that they are the Guardians of Earth against, all magical entities and stuff, they are the Wizards of Earth are probably very much aware of who Thanos is, even if they don't know how powerful he is.
True. I have to address the so-called duck in the room.
No Howard Duck.
See, we've seen...
No Howard Duck.
We've seen in both Guardians of the Galaxy some sort of cameo by Howard the Duck. Do you think they're going to continue that by having a cameo of Howard the Duck in Infinity Wars?
No. I do not want Howard the Duck. Save him for, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but leave him out of there because there's already too much stuff. I'm tired of, people going off and putting all these little Easter eggs in. It's enough. There's going to be like 1,007 Easter eggs in, Infinity Wars. See, I don't want to go off and see, 1,002.
I would gladly give up every other single Easter egg just for the Howard Duck. Howard the Duck, by far, has been my favorite character. So to have that little cameo in both Guardians of the Galaxy, to me, it was my childhood.
Okay. If he went off and if we, at the beginning, we see the Guardians doing something off planet, off Earth, and, Howard is somehow in the scene, I'm fine with that. I do not want to see him on Earth. I do not want him anywhere near
the reason I'm suggesting is because, obviously, we already are aware of the fact that the Collector has a stone. So, at some point, the Collector will come into play for Infinity Wars, and he also has Howard the Duck in his collection. So it would only make sense that Howard the Duck would make some sort of appearance in Infinity Wars as a cameo of some sort in the background, maybe handing the stone over. You may not be a big fan of this theory, but I think it's a very likely possibility.
I don't know. I do know that in the comics, the Collector is a villain. He is a villain.
That is an obvious thing.
That is an obvious thing. The guy's not good. Definitely. We're going to see the return of the Collector. If for no other reason than, Thanos' men show up and he poops his pants and he hands over the stone so he doesn't die. And hey, Benicio del Toro, I love the guy. I really,